Hey there, and Hero here, back at with another budget gaming build. This time it's under $350, about $321 to be exact, but with a bit of patience, you could whittle it down to $300. So let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this PC. First off, we'll start with the GTX 970, a controversial but still well-received card. Launched September 19, 2014 with an MSRP of $329. This card is now 8 years old. With a bit of digging, people found out the card had only 3.5 gigs of GDDR5 and the other 0.5 gig was slower memory, so technically it was 4 gigs. But that didn't really make people happy, did it? Now then, it features 1664 shading units, 104 texture units, and this GPU operates at a frequency of 1050 MHz, which can be boosted up to 1178 MHz. Whereas the memory is running around 1753 MHz. Right here, I have the GTX 970 in the blower style from ASUS, which is very similar to the reference design, just more black and plastic. Oddly enough, I've seen both Zotac, PNY, and also MSI use the same shroud and design for their 970s and other cards. Compared to the reference design, this card only needs one 8-pin power connector compared to the 2x6 that it usually comes with. I bought my particular card for $91, but you can easily find it around the $70 range, or if you're lucky, even less. I just spent the extra just to have this old boy in my hands. Moving on, we have the Intel i7 4770K. This chip was launched all the way back in June 2nd, 2013 at an MSRP of $350. Found this bad boy for $38. With 4 cores and 8 threads, I think this chip should be able to hold its own in games with a base clock of 3.5 GHz and it can go up to 3.9 GHz. I still believe in these older i7s as they still hold up pretty well here in 2022. Allow me to flash the specs and prices for this PC real quick. Alright, like always, we'll do our synthetics real quick. In Cinebench R23, the multi-score is 3,392, and the single is 1,047. In 3D Mark, Firestrike gets 9,554, and Time Spy gets 3,369. I'm adding PC Mark with a score of 4,710. Now, everyone was waiting for the gaming benchmarks, unless you skipped ahead if you looked for it in the description or pinned comment or something. Now for a few notes. For Warzone, if you're feeling like the lows are a bit too low for your tastes, I suggest turning down everything further down to low instead of normal settings. Far Cry is able to run at ultra, but you don't really need to, just set it to high and you'll get better averages. Cyberpunk is running at 30 FPS at medium settings with quality FSR. It's a nice middle ground for visual fidelity and playable experience if you ask me. But if you want to prioritize frames, set the game to low, or better yet, set the FSR to balance, and looks pretty good that way, and runs a little closer to 40, if not in the 40 range. What do you think? I think for a sub $300, I think it performed well. The i7 4770K still has a bit of life left to give, and if you get the right motherboard, you can even overclock it, but I personally think it hangs around the modern 10th or 11th gen i3s, at least for pure gaming. It shouldn't hold you back too much as long as it's paired with the right GPU. Speaking of GPUs, let's address the 3.5 elephants in the room. Like always, I think 3 gigs is perfectly fine for esports and less intensive games. Even with half of the fast RAM and the extra half the slow RAM to create the supposed 4 gigs, 970 is adequate. But it's starting to show its age as newer games such as Cyberpunk really kicked its ass. But if you could find this card for $70 or less, I wouldn't be too upset about how well it performed. If you have any of these parts, let me know how well they served you, or if you're planning out a budget build, let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm Hero. Like if you like, and dislike if you don't like it or just hate me. Subscribe if you want to see more. See you next time.